Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Emily Hiles, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Commander Paula Evans. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors and students on behalf of Sacred Heart School from Corryong, Victoria. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where family and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths and floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Lance Bombardier Allan Porter. Allan Porter was born on the 17th of March 1917 in Hamilton, Victoria, the son of William and Myrtle Porter. Little is known of his early life. On the eve of the Second World War, he was working as a hardware salesman. Allan Porter enlisted in the 2nd Australian Imperial Force on the 6th of August 1940 at the age of 23. Joining the Royal Australian Artillery, he was sent to Puckapunyal for training, eventually transferring to the newly formed 2nd 4th Anti-Tank Regiment. Assigned to the 8th Division, the regiment consisted of 4 batteries with a strength of 30 officers and just over 500 soldiers. On the 23rd of May 1941, Porter embarked from Melbourne for active overseas service, arriving in Singapore in early June. From there, he travelled to Malaya. In November, Porter was briefly detached to the headquarters. Shortly afterwards, he was taken for medical treatment for a weakness in his left knee. After recovering, he rejoined his unit towards the end of the year. When the Japanese invasion of Malaya began, the bulk of Porter's regiment was focused on the west coast of the peninsula, supporting the 27th Infantry Brigade as the Japanese advanced, pushed the Allies back towards Johor. Despite some success in fighting delaying actions, by the end of January, the last Allied troops had crossed the Johor Causeway, which was blown up to prevent the Japanese from using it. During the short lull that followed, 2 Australian brigades occupied hastily prepared defensive positions on the northwest coast of the island. The 2nd 4th Anti-Tank Regiment deployed to support various infantry brigades. The regiment was bolstered during this time, with its batteries expanding from 3 troops to 4 and receiving more guns. On the evening of the 8th of February, the Japanese attacked. Over the course of a week of heavy fighting, the regiment's batteries took part in numerous actions, often with just a single gun. The regiment was heavily engaged as the Allies were pushed back towards Singapore. With Australian units concentrated around Tanglewood Barracks prepared for a final stand, on the 15th of February, Garrison Commander Lieutenant General Arthur Percival ordered surrender. The surviving men of the regiment became prisoners of war. Initially imprisoned in Changi Jail, working groups were sent to camps around Southeast Asia, including in Thailand, Borneo, Sumatra and Japan. The conditions they experienced were brutal. And of the almost 15,000 Australians captured during the Malaya campaign and the fall of Singapore, only 2/3 survived. More than 170 members of the 2nd 4th Anti-Tank Regiment died as prisoners. Among their number was Lance Bombardier Allan Porter. News about his whereabouts was slow to emerge. Initially declared missing after the fall of Singapore, in June 1943, he was declared missing, believed to be a prisoner of war. In August 1945, there were reports he was alive in Thailand, but later that same month, he was reported as being deceased, believed to have died of chronic dysentery. Allan Porter was 28 years old. After the war, his remains were reburied in Kanchanaburi War Cemetery under the inscription chosen by his grieving family. He gave his life that we might live. His name is listed on the honour roll on my left, among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. A photograph of his headstone is displayed today beside the pool of reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Lance Bombardier Allan Porter, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of our director and staff, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support of the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.